One more topic, real quick, before we get out of here. Very, very small topic. Shouldn't take long. I know you don't play many games anymore these days.
You got instant lobbies because it's in the cloud. All 571 are on one server.
I know you don't play many games these days.
No.
And when you do, it's very rare. But you've also been a parent much longer than I have.
Well, yeah.
So, when you became a parent and when you were, in the dark times, we'll say, of, learning how to take care of a newborn and how to take care of 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, et cetera, how did your gaming habits change? I know that it's kind of weird because it's not like with current technology, but
well, no, I mean it is what it is. I don't think it really matters what the technology is. The fact is, there's a game in front of you and you can play it. I will say that when she was a lot younger, it was a lot easier to find times to play games to a degree.
Sure.
And also, I mean, not just around being a parent, but like, backstory for me, when I went from having assistance readily available to not having that because, just wasn't there.
Yeah.
That was the defining moment. That was where it went from like, okay, well, I have time for myself to, I literally don't have fucking time to do anything other than what I have to deal with.
Yeah.
Because any of my downtime, I just want to get ahead on what I'm going to be working. That's what I do. I get free time and I'm like, okay, what can I get ahead on? So like, the early years, she loved her swing. So that was great for me because she would just sit in her swing and I would play Lego Star Wars.
Yeah.
And the dog would actually park herself right in front of the swing between everybody and then like give everybody the stink eye when they would come over to look at the baby. So it was like, okay, Rocket, you got her. I would say around the time she started really moving, that's when it was like, okay, my gaming is going to happen after she's asleep.
Yep.
So I would put her to bed and then I'd play, for an hour or two. Around the time that she was, I guess this was like 7, 8, because there was a time, there was a time when she started to get into them to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
That was before she got into it. I would play quite a bit again after she was asleep, but the nice thing with kids is the older they get, the more autonomous they get to a degree.
Sure.
But it is a double-edged sword. I'll warn you of that. Because as nice as it is to have her entertain herself or like be able to just go play piano, find something to do, there's that part of me that's always like, man, I remember a time when it used to always be daddy, 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 and I was the end of the world, and
sure,
that you do miss it. Today, if I didn't have all the other shit, I could literally go and play video games whenever I want. Most of the time that I play them, I'm playing them with her.
Yeah.
And she lost her Switch charger because she's
like the dock.
No, like the cord.
Oh, well, that's easy.
It's like $30.
You can just have a USB-C charger.
Oh no, you can't.
Yes, you can.
They fry switches. I had to send her back once.
It hasn't done it for me. I've done it plenty of times.
Well, you lucky bitch. No, I mean I got burnt once, so I was like, you know what, fine, I'll use the real one. I agree it is a USB-C port, and I don't know why it fried it, but they fixed it. This would be the 4th one I've bought. That ain't happening. I believe that you need to learn something at some point.
I mean, yeah, for sure.
So she doesn't really play the Switch. And I don't even know if she would if she had it, but like, we'll play. She got that Atari for Christmas from her grandfather. That's actually really fun. But yeah, if I don't really touch the games on my own as much. I mean, last year we played Destiny a lot. I would play a lot either after work, and then when she was doing her homework, unless she needed help. So the opportunities definitely come back.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the. There is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
It's a long ass tunnel, but
yeah.
it's there. And hopefully by the time you get there, you still want to.
That's the kind of where I'm at, because we have our 5-year-old, and when we first had her, it's first time parent, you're just in the thick of it, and you're just
into the thick of it,
grinding, and you're trying to figure out how to exist in life with this new thing. So when we would sit in the living room, like a lot of the time, I had my phone to play something, or I had my laptop in there, and I would play old school RuneScape or something, very easy to like stop and go. I would play my Switch, so I had the Switch that's handheld. I would always play it handheld. She'd be watching a show, my wife would be watching a show. I'd be there with my Switch playing, because I don't watch some of the shows that she watches, so I game. And then, once they're in their crib and they're sleeping through the night, you have the nights that if you have the luxury of time to play a little bit at night, that's what I would do. I would go down and, in my game room and play, or go up to my game room at the time and play and stuff like that. And, now with him, like leading up to him, my daughter was much older, so she kind of entertains herself to a degree, and I would be able to do the same thing that I used to. Is I would sit on my recliner and I would play the Switch, I would play on my phone, or I would have my laptop to do something. And with him, I got the ROG Ally. I traded one of my PC monitors to get the ROG Ally, and my thought process to getting that was, I can play my Steam library, I can have the Xbox Game Pass library on there and some other things, because it's basically a PC, so I'll play that. So when she was pregnant with him, I would sit on my chair and I would play that, and it was fun, and, especially at night, if I didn't feel like coming down here, I would just stay up on my chair and I would play that, and, when we'd watch TV, like after dinner or a little bit before, I would play that here and there, and it was very easy. Like I would play games that I can pick up, put down at a moment's notice. And I started playing, like my daughter started picking up games and she started playing them, and she enjoys watching me play some. So every now and then, like I don't like to play them on the TV and like hog the TV. I don't like to be that guy. So I like my wife to enjoy stuff too. So now that my daughter's much older and she can play games herself to a degree, she basically owns my Switch now. And I get to I play some Xbox stuff with her. She likes to watch me play, some games. Tunic was one of them. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is another.
Overcooked is great with kids.
Overcooked. I don't recommend playing that with your kids.
Do it. That's how they got into it. It's frustrating as hell, but
it is very frustrating. And for a 5-year-old, that's definitely just avoid that altogether.
Oh, I remember it. It's like, oh look, I can throw the mushrooms off the edge.
But now I'm to the point where I don't really have time. Like, I will play Magic on my phone when we're up there. I'll fit in a game or two, and then it's, doing stuff around the house, taking care of 2 kids.
Is he on COD?
And I don't know. I take on 2 kids, so it's a little bit rougher to find that free time, because when one's content, the other's not. And then by the time they're done, everybody's in bed. I'm either too tired to do anything, or I have to do stuff for, the channel or whatnot. So
you just gotta put in the time, man.
It varies here and there, but I do know that, once he is more independent and he can start to entertain himself, there's going to be, a lot more time that becomes available during the day and during the weekends where I can actually get progress.
Relating to games, if I can give you a bit of advice on that as you encounter the older ages, if you don't mind.
By all means.
eventually she's going to want a phone. You're not going to say no.
Well, I mean...
Because she's going to need to understand how that stuff works.
Well, yeah.
Hold off as long as you can, and I don't mean like 16.
Well,
because it's going to come sooner than that.
I think we're on this. Me and her are on the same page of like when she starts to go over to a lot of friends' houses and do stuff with them. I think that's kind of the point where we're going to have to just be like, all right, I guess we got to do this.
Don't let her guilt you into games on the phone. That is the one thing I would change.
What do you mean? Elaborate a little bit.
You're probably going to get her a smartphone so she can text.
Well, yeah, that's... If there's one thing I've realized, like, you can't fight against the time that we're in.
You can't, but but you can teach her that a phone is not a game device. You can teach her that it's for communication. I know it sounds weird.
Well, it's kind of hypocritical in my position because I play Magic on my phone.
You're an adult. You understand things like discipline.
Do I?
Some days. My biggest point is that I've noticed in so many kids that I see that I coached, even my own daughter, and it's kind of, I won't call it disappointing, but I wish that I had, because there was a period of time that she didn't have a phone she had it and then she didn't.
Yeah.
And it was like 2 years. And then it came back because she was involved in extracurricular activities and needed it.
Sure.
And it suddenly became, well, can I have this because, you have it, or because all the other kids have it and I'm feeling left out and I'm getting made fun of. And it's like, first it's like tic-tac-toe, and then it's like this game, and then it's this game. And what I've discovered is that we'll be in, just these moments where you could be picking literally anything else. You could have a conversation with me. You could, listen to music. You could do whatever. And you're sitting there mindlessly just swiping a tic-tac-toe, doom scrolling because your brain needs that dopamine.
That. Yeah. I could see that. I mean...
Avoid that at all costs.
Yeah, I think that is something that I will try to protect against, because that is something, especially for me, and like we talked about it last week, is the overstimulation. And then when it's time for, when it, I'll play Magic up there, or if I'm at work and it starts to rain or something and I can't do my job and I'm waiting to see what it does, I'll sit in my van, and my go-to is usually, I guess I'll sit here and play Magic or whatever. So then when I get home and all the kids are in bed, the wife is in bed, and I'm like, all right, now it's me time. I don't feel inclined to seek the stimulation anymore.
Well, that's the idea. But the unfortunate truth is that, like the doom scrolling, those things, the behaviors we're seeing with that, it's starting to prove that you aren't, in fact, overstimulated. Your brain is expecting a certain level of stimulation at all times, and it becomes incredibly hard to tolerate
100%.
Not being that stimulated. Basically, it makes you more sensitive to boredom.
You're going to have that naturally because we have so many things that we can seek entertainment from.
Yes.
It's just in your house alone. It's like, I could watch 10 streaming services on the TV, or I could play the Switch, or I could play the Xbox, or I could watch my iPad, or I could play with my toys, or I could do this. And then you run around and do 10 different things all within an hour period, and now you're just like, well, now what do I do?
Right. I will say that with the phone, playing a game for the sake of playing the game because you have nothing else to do is detrimental to education, behavior at home. I've seen it permeate, and it's not just her. I'm around 28 kids every week. That's my advice, is to avoid that as long as possible.
Yeah, exactly what Colin said is we're all addicted to dopamine. And when it comes to the natural dopamines of life, you have no room left for it in your brain after a whole day of just constant dopamine.
Well, yeah, and I mean, scrolling doesn't not all scrolling gives you dopamine, but he has a point. Yes, we have a dopamine addiction. But it's also the behaviors that we learn too.
It's the instant gratification. You just get it instantly, and then when you're not getting it with something where I have to, like, you know, if I sat down with a certain game that gives me constant,
like RuneScape,
that's
or Magic. I've seen you with Magic.
Magic gives me a lot of, you know, gratification, but RuneScape is definitely the opposite of that. Like, you don't get instant gratification. You gotta work for that shit.
It is dopamine, to your point, instant gratification. It is fear of missing out. It is learned.
That's a big thing too.
It is learned behavior because we are creatures of habit.
Yeah.
It is comfort because we latch on to certain things to set ourselves apart.
We live in the most comfortable time that any human has ever lived.
It's literally a perfect storm because it's in your pocket, and it needs to, like, the people who are going to get that under control are us. We are the parents. We are the ones who are going to get that under control by first acknowledging it, and second doing something about it. So that's my soapbox. Good luck.
Yeah, it's
fuck you, Activision.
It's a challenge for sure, and it's definitely something that, you know, we have to actively change and try to combat. But again, back to the original thing with gaming habits changing. Like, I think even if you don't have kids and you're an adult, your gaming habits definitely change because you're getting busier at work, or you've taken on a different career, etc. Like, your time differences might be off. Like, you might be work like third shift, and when you're awake you want to be out in public doing something or hanging out with friends or something like that. So
I got your third shift.
So
am I allowed to monologue to take us out? You ain't gonna let me monologue.